This episode is brought to you by Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, you should definitely check them out. It's a super easy tool that anyone can use to create and distribute their podcast. It has everything you need, and you can do it all from your computer or even your phone. Need your podcast cover art? There's a tool. Music and sound effects? They have you covered. Want to record on the fly? It's easy with the app. Now you may be saying to yourself, I already have a podcast. No worries, just create your account, upload, and publish to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Looking for some walking around money? Anchor connects you with advertisers who match your brand. It's a one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to Biz Quick. I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And today we are so excited to have Brooke Wright of Green Ivy Photography joining us.
That's right. You're listening to Biz Quick. This is where Julie and Corey provide quick and useful information to small business owners. Biz Quick is the podcast where small business owners get to showcase their businesses and receive expert advice and guidance in areas many entrepreneurs struggle with. And you, the listener, get solutions, tips, and tricks on real-world topics that many small business owners face. Julie and Corey are the experts small businesses hire when they need solutions. And the Biz Quick podcast is just one way they deliver those solutions. Let's start the show.
Thanks for joining us, Brooke. Tell us about your business.
Hey guys, my name is Brooke Wright. You guys introduced me. I am owner, sole employee at Green Ivy Photography, LLC. I started it actually last year, but I was a sissy, and we're going to get to that. And I just got my LLC this past month, so I just became official. Don't tell the IRS. I would appreciate that. But I started this, I don't know, I've always loved photography. And me and Chad were living in Virginia, and I had a bomb job. I worked for the Department of Defense, and Chad was in the military. And I did photography for fun, for friends. And so when he proposed wanting to move back home to Georgia and I was going to leave that awesome job I had, I said, the only way I'm moving is if you find something to do where I can pursue photography full time. And that was like he wanted to come home and I didn't. So that was our agreement. So that's how I got into doing it for a career.
So aside from being a hobby, did you get any like official education in photography, or is it just something you kind of picked up along the way?
Totally picked it up. I've gone to college, never got a full degree, but I've gone for technical careers. It was something I did when I was a mechanic. I've gone for psychology and criminal justice and never even taken like an art class in college.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
How did you start? Like what prompted you to start taking pictures?
I always have. Like I've always been that person, like at a get together or at like if we go to the lake or we do something fun, like I'm that really aggravating person in your face with my phone, like, oh, do that again. That looked really cool. You know, like I've always been that person. And so I knew I had a knack for it and I knew I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of like the first time I actually set up, I think it was my friends in Virginia. They were a couple and they needed pictures, and they knew I took pictures at all of our get-togethers, and they said, why don't you do some couples photos for us? And that kind of kicked it off. After that, I was like, wow, this makes me really happy, and I have a gift where I can make other people happy, you know. And that was it.
Tell us about buying your first camera, like your really nice non-iPhone camera.
Oh, Chad bought it for me.
So Chad did the research on it, or did you kind of know what you wanted?
No, he was wonderful. I didn't know what I wanted. And he is never this thoughtful. This is just a fluke. Don't give him a lot of credit. We had a close friends who the wife of our close friends was a photographer professionally. So he called her and he said, look, this is what Brooke's going, you know, she knew me. So she knew what I was getting into, and she suggested everything, and I have a Nikon. But yeah, he was awesome about, you know, figuring that out. But That's a really good question that leads me to talk about like photography. I didn't think about when I was getting into it for a career how much money up front. I know all businesses take a lot of investment, but my gosh, y'all, like equipment for photography is so expensive. And that was something that kind of like, hit me in the face when I realized I wanted to do it. I was like, wow, this is going to take a lot up front, and it takes a while to get clients. So it's daunting.
Did you buy all of the equipment at once, or did you sort of pace it out where you're getting clients and you're taking some pictures and you're kind of limited in what you can do, and then you're buying more and you can do more and more things with the clients? Or did you make this huge investment up front and then kind of earn it back from the photo shoots that you did?
Definitely the first one, spaced it out. And that's kind of been my approach with building my business is I'm going from minimal, like what are the basics that I need to take good photos and to continue to grow and make money. I don't know. Chad is definitely that person that like when he started 307, he wanted everything up front, and I definitely am not. Camera and lens got me by for almost 8 months before I bought lighting and everything else I needed.
And for all of our listeners out there, I just wanted to throw out that Chad is your husband.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably world famous. He might not be BizQuick world famous.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. He's not really famous in the business world. It's a different world, right?
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So this pandemic has affected every business across the country and world for that matter. And I imagine for you, photography includes a lot of like group events and things like that. How have you dealt with all of the problems that have come along with the pandemic?
I have just dealt with them. I mean, so it didn't affect me as much because we're blessed to have our other business and we're blessed to have a savings account from when we were in Virginia. So I didn't even apply for any of the assistance. We just kind of wrote it out, but it definitely, I was right before the pandemic hit. I was, it's a client-based, photography is a client-based business company. So I was starting to build clients. I was seeing these webs beginning to happen of so-and-so referred so-and-so. And I was thinking, okay, this is it. Like I'm growing. And then that happened. So it was definitely the worst thing it did for me was just my morale. I was just so pumped and just, I don't know. Y'all, when I switched from like, it was really hard for me to get into the mindset of like, this is not a hobby anymore, because when I decided, like in my mind, when I said, okay, I'm going to do this for a living, it was like, I had to be vulnerable. I had to be okay with failing or not doing well. And if I kept it just as a hobby, I was safe because, if I fell on my face, I could be like, oh, I just do it for fun. That didn't really matter. So the pandemic just kind of hindered me there in my morale and in my confidence mainly.
How have you handled converting your hobby into a career? Because I know a lot of people who do, they do something for fun and they're like, oh, I'd love to do this full time. And then they realize that they just ruined something that they love because it's a business now and it's no longer for fun.
Right. I don't know. I mean, like I said before, same thing with the pandemic. Like we are so blessed financially with our resources. And a lot of that is because of the way we live. We don't live lavish lifestyles, but I don't have a lot of pressure on me that Green Ivy needs to make tons of money right now. Like I'm okay. I can, help with our other business and just kind of keep things rolling. So because of that, because of our resources and because it's still fun, like there hasn't been pressure on me yet. I know it'll get there, and I'm kind of trying to mentally prepare for when I get really busy, how am I going to handle it, and setting up and using apps and programs. And I don't know, I'm not there yet. It hasn't really stressed me out yet. I love it so much still. But the main thing that's been strong, like tough for me about changing it into a business, like I said earlier, is just being confident and being confident that I can provide a product that people will spend money on, and that I'm really critical of myself. And I feel like that holds me back a lot in business, because everybody else says, that's great work, you did awesome, and instead of sharing it with people, I'm hiding somewhere being like, gosh, this isn't right, and I didn't do this right. And I feel like if I can get over some of that criticalness, I can really grow more in my business.
Well, I will say you are well on your way to getting there. It takes a lot of courage just to admit when you have the confidence issue or you're super critical of yourself. Coming from someone who has, like, I have a bully that lives in my head nonstop. Mm-hmm. It's hard to put yourself out there and try new things. And I think it's great that you admit to the vulnerability that you were feeling as you were working through transitioning from a hobby to a business and making that change. And I kind of want to touch on that a little bit more. Is that why it took you so long to take this, what was already decided as that it was going to be a business, and actually really commit to it being a business and forming an LLC?
Totally. Yeah, totally. It was, I wasn't sure whether my business was valid enough, to actually, like, I don't know. It just, I guess, like Corey said, the transition, I was just stuck. I was stuck. But really, when you get your LLC and your federal tax ID and like stuff seems real, you start behaving differently in your business. I think like you've crossed that bridge. Yeah. And now it's time, to take things seriously and not just, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm curious if you can pinpoint like a specific event or something that happened that made you say, yep, I'm ready. I'm good to go. I'm going to form an LLC now.
We wanted to take a quick break to tell you more about SB Pace, the small business consulting company that makes this podcast possible. SB Pace, which stands for Small Business Planning, Advising, Coaching, Expertise, focuses solely on helping small businesses and entrepreneurs. Are you looking to start a small business of your own? SB Pace can get you up and running with a solid foundation that's built to last. Are you an existing small business in a slump or just looking for ways to improve what you do? We can help with that. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? SB Pace is the partner you need. You can find out more about SB Pace and what we have to offer by visiting our website, sbpace.com.
No, I really don't. I feel like it was just something that I'm a procrastinator. So I had been talking about it for, no joke, like 3 or 4 months. And I was working and I was getting paid via Apple Pay and Square. So I just knew that what pushed me was just knowing that like I need to be writing all this stuff off. And here I am. I don't even have a tax ID number. And I'm spending a ton of money on lenses and I'm making a lot of money. And this is going to get complicated if I don't make everything legal. So I think actually, I think I can answer that question. I looked at my Square account and saw how much I had made over a few months. And I was like, oh crap, I got to get legal. This is getting serious. So yeah, but I wish I hadn't put all that off. And like right now I'm putting off, getting with a CPA and getting everything organized and learning with photography, what I can write off, what I can't. Like I need to have done that 4 months ago and I'm still, just dragging my feet.
Do you have a CPA?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm so bad. Once I do it, I'll be anal about it and I'll do a great job. It's just the initial, getting everything in order.
And just, like word of advice, you don't necessarily need a CPA. Just a good accountant. They don't have to be a CPA, but okay, that's definitely helpful. And I love how you think 3 to 4 months is procrastinating, which for a lot of people listening, 3 to 4 months is probably a very short time.
It's
So
aggressive
Oh,
for some
yes,
people.
yes.
that's awesome. I mean, and you guys, like y'all, when you started your business, y'all were, I mean, was that one of the first things y'all did was apply for the LLC, or was that like an after the fact?
Well, our business was kind of formed like there was no like set date, like, oh, we're starting business today, because this all happened during at the very beginning of the pandemic. And so it just kind of, it turned into something after we had made phone calls with friends and family who own small businesses. And just kind of like, as we're putting pieces together, we're like, oh, this is a business. So
Yeah.
for us, it was kind of like that. I don't know, calling your friends and family and asking them how you can help them during a pandemic doesn't really sound like a hobby, but similar.
Yeah, it was not a hobby, but it wasn't one of the first things that we did. I think one of the first things we did was figured out exactly what our services were and who we were going to sell them to, like who our clients were. That's probably a little bit more obvious for you, right? Where you're selling to people who are getting engaged or getting married or had a baby or got a new puppy or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So very, very different. Like it's obvious who your clients are, and for us, it wasn't as obvious.
Well, and the funny thing is, I mean, if you look back, and my kitchen is our conference room, and
Awesome.
the walls of papers that we had, glued all over the place, or just stuck up on the walls, the giant Post-it notes. What we thought we were in April is extremely different than what we are now. So that's, I wonder, have you pivoted or had to make any changes as to what you thought you were going to do, or have you been kind of sailing straight?
No, totally. Yeah, I've had to definitely pivot. It's like that, isn't it? Like you have a plan and you think you're going to be one thing, and then God or the universe, whatever you call it, throws you something else, No, like just recently, I've always said I don't want to do weddings. Weddings don't appeal to me. I didn't personally have a wedding. I was like, that's how much I don't like weddings. I'm just not into it. I think personally, I feel like it's a waste. And that's just personal. It's my opinion. I have no qualms about anybody else doing it. But I've had several inquiries for weddings, and it kept happening, even though wedding photographer is not on any of my Google website, Facebook, Instagram. They just kept. So I was like, okay, I need to try this, and that was a pivot that I did that I didn't anticipate, and it's actually turned out great. So
how do you market Green Ivy Photography?
Yeah, that's something that I'm actually, one of my goals right now is to get better at that. Currently, I'm just using social media. I use Google. I have a Google profile. I do Instagram and Facebook. I've paid for a few ads on Facebook, but I haven't seen a large return personally from that yet. So I'm doing that, and then I've been doing a lot of free work. I know that sounds crazy. I've just recently really slowed down on that. But recently I did a first responder giveaway, and it was 3 different packages, and people just wrote in a name, or they could volunteer themselves. And I chose 3 families and did free photos. And that's been the best marketing I've had, because, they tell 6 other people, and then I get a client, and then they tell 10 other people, and, yeah, but that's pretty much it for marketing. I haven't gotten into anything other than social media yet.
Since photography requires you to be there in person, how far do you normally travel? What's your radius from where you are?
So I don't really have a limit. It's just on a case-to-case basis. I like to stay within 60 miles. That's when I start charging per mile, is anything over 60 miles from my home. But I definitely like to stay in Rome if I can. But next week I'm going to LJ. I've gone down to South Georgia and done a brewery. I just do 50 cents per mile if I have to travel more than 60, but I would definitely prefer to stay in the area.
Well, I was just curious about that because Rome isn't exactly a heavily populated area. So.
No, no.
Not a metropolis.
Yeah.
No. And that's where I'm kind of struggling. I follow a couple other photographers in the area that are all doing really, really well. And their work, I'm not being vain. I have a lot of things to learn. And I am learning. I'm a medium talented photographer at this point. But the local girls that I follow their work is not as quality as mine, but they're just covered up with work. And I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? But they grew up here, and they already have that base network of people, and I don't have that. So I've just got to work harder, because like you said, Rome is not a big place. It's not.
How did you decide on your price point for your packages that you sell?
That's a really good question, and I am still struggling with that. Chad is really good about getting onto me for underselling myself because I want to. And I think that kind of goes back to the vulnerability thing. Like if I charge a lot and I mess up, I don't know, there's a lot more shame associated with it than if, well, I only charged you $75, those pictures weren't all the best, but that's okay, So I started actually really cheap, just trying to get people, just trying to build a network and show people what I'm capable of. And I told you guys free. So the price points that I'm starting to crawl to now are based on me stalking a ton of other photographers and kind of looking at the average income in our area and trying to give a good guess as to what people can afford,
I want to kind of jump back into the marketing thing real quick, if you don't mind, because I was just thinking about the being in rural Georgia, like other ways that you could potentially expand your reach, your client base, whatever. And like, I was just wondering if you had any kind of partnerships, like real estate agents or things like that, because like, I know that, and I'm sure everybody who's ever tried to buy a home, some people have really great pictures of their homes. And some people are like, oh, here's a blurry picture of the corner of a room.
I know, right? Yeah, no, it's crazy that you bring that up. I'm sorry. Were you not done with your question?
No, that's it. If you take it away.
Yeah, no. So I told you guys I was going up to LJ next week, and I just got done buying some equipment because there's a lady who has rental cabins in the Smokies, and I'm going to photograph her rental cabins. And I've been watching YouTube videos, following all these pages, trying to take pictures of my house. So yeah, I'm trying to I guess expand my portfolio as far as photography goes. But that's not something that's common in the photography world. Most people find something and they specialize. And I don't really want to do that. Like I want to be able to do, like you say, like, in the winter months or when it's really hot outside and outdoor family photos are slow, I want to be able to jump into real estate photography and keep my business going, so I would definitely like to get into that.
That's probably one of the advantages of being in a really small area is that you can position yourself as being an expert in multiple areas. Right, so you could be the great wedding photographer and be the great real estate photographer. But I want to go back to something that you were talking about before. Corey followed up with the marketing question with the pricing and how that plays into confidence. And that's so normal, Brooke, for people to want to charge less because they think, I'm not sure anybody would pay money for this. right?
Mhm.
And we've experienced it, we did, and we still, if Corey could give our services away for free to everybody, he would, because he
That's
doesn't,
true.
he doesn't feel comfortable asking anyone for money. So that's why this girl's in charge of sales and marketing, because he doesn't like to do it, right? He says
Yes.
he feels dirty when he has to ask somebody for money. So I'm like, well, we have to pay ourselves, Corey. But one remedy that you might consider is, and first off, let me just say this: don't let me find out that you're charging $75 for photographs, Brooke. Right? Don't let me find that out. Like, that's insane. Like, no, I've seen your work.
Thanks, Julie.
But if you have this concern that you're going to deliver, a crappy package, or it's not going to be top of the line quality, it's a lot easier to build a price that's like, I don't know, like $500 for this work you're going to do. And then if you feel like the quality is $300 quality, then charge them only $300. Like, reduce it to say, hey, I feel like I could have done better on some of these pictures, so I'm not going to charge you the full 500. And one, that builds trust, and it really shows your integrity. But it also doesn't eliminate the ability for you to get paid what you should be getting paid for the work that you're doing.
Right. No, that's genius. And really, there's another aspect to it where people look at my prices, and I know we shouldn't do that, but they do judge my work based on my prices. Why is she so cheap?
Oh yeah, that's a real thing, Brooke. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
People are like, why isn't she charging that much? Now the free giveaways, that's a whole different story, right? Which is also it's a brilliant strategy, but I suspect it was less strategy and more you just wanting to do things for people who are really having a tough time right now.
Yes.
But that definitely builds your brand, and that was a really smart move, regardless of why you did it. It was a really smart move.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we have to start wrapping up, so why don't you tell our listeners how they can find you?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Green Ivy Photo. Just green spelled as it is, IVY photo. And I'm on Facebook at Green Ivy Photography. And then my website, which currently working on, I'm in a weird relationship with GoDaddy right now. It's Green Ivy for y'all. We should have talked about that. Oh my gosh. But my website coming up, don't judge me right now, give me like a week, is greenivyphotography.com.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Brooke. And hopefully maybe in a month or so, once you get everything rolling, we can have you back on and we can talk about all the fun stuff of being a legitimate business.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I can drag Chad on and you guys can have both of us and we'll talk about, I do a lot with 3 of 7, so we could have an episode more focused on 3 of 7 too.
We would welcome that. We would love that. So you can connect with us on social media as well. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I highly recommend that you follow Brooke's personal page on Instagram because she is a hoot. You can also catch us. You can catch us on our websites, sbpace.com and bizquickpodcast.com.
And after you're done listening to this episode, if you haven't already, subscribe to the pod, like us, and give us a review, good or bad. We love hearing feedback from you.
We prefer good, and honestly, we really, really want you to review. I can't emphasize enough how important reviews are for podcasts, so please review. And you can reach out to us about other topics that you'd like to hear about. We live to serve. And we have a book. Seriously, now what? A small business guide to disaster preparedness, and it has a companion workbook. You can pick it up on Amazon or link to it through our website.
So that's it for the show. I'm Corey.
And I'm Julie.
And this was BizQuick, helping small businesses across America.